Hi everyone, it's Amy GablesStitcher here with a stitching update video. Today is September 22nd, 2022, and even though it's only been 2 weeks since my last video, I have a ton of stitching to show you. I don't have a lot of progress on any one project, but I do have a little bit of progress on a lot of projects. So let's dive in and see what I have been working on. I don't have any finishes over the last 2 weeks, which is pretty much par for the course this past year. But I don't have any new starts either, which is a little bit unusual for me recently. And that's okay. I've just been enjoying the projects I have started. I did last week go through my projects and update my spreadsheet to see where I stand as far as number of projects or WIPs, works in progress. I had less than I thought, but more than I had last year. Kind of refining that list, and I do plan on doing a WIP parade probably end of November, beginning of December, to show you everything that I will be bringing into the new year. But let's get to what I worked on these past 2 weeks. Like I said, a lot of projects, not a ton of progress on any of them. First one is from Stitches Through the Years. So this designer is on Etsy. This project is called Summer in the Country. I started this in July at the New Jersey Floss Tube Retreat. Love this. Give me a red house and some sheep, and I am all over it. I am stitching this with my own conversion. A couple of the called for, mostly substituted, some DMC, Victorian Motto, and Color and Cotton. So I think it's a really pretty palette. I'll put a picture up of where it was last time. And here it is right now. So I filled in the grass, stitched a little bit more in here, filled in those bees, so quite a bit. I'll put it back here so I can put in where it was last. Not a ton of progress, but every stitch matters. And I am really enjoying stitching on this. So this is a mystery 40 count linen. I am stitching at 1 thread over 2 strands, two threads of linen. I think it's an old picture, this plus, but I'm not sure. So that's that. I love it. I'm getting closer to the halfway point on that, and I'm really loving every stitch. Next project, I will put a picture in of it because I do not have a color cover page. This is the Neapolitan sampler that is reproduced by my friend Julie, Kansas City girl in the Colorado world, underneath her design name, Hemlock and Rye. I love the colors on the sampler, and it is just such a nice, cute, petite sampler. Love it. I am using all the called for DMC. Such pretty colors. And they're on my, if you watched my last video, talking about how I'm using my recycling to make floss tags. Not a ton of progress on this. I am stitching this on 40 count Ale by Picture This Plus. And this is going to be a small sampler. And I worked a little bit more on the border and on those letters across the top. So look close so you can see it. I love how the letters are the same color, just a different tone than the fabric. It does make it a little bit challenging to stitch. Put it here so you can see the comparison. Love it. Julie's Julie's charting is very good. Her colors are fantastic. She has a good eye for color. And she has a couple of projects in the, coming out soon that I'm really excited about. And I hope everyone else will be really excited about too. Some really neat things coming out. So stay tuned. I will put the links to my patterns in the drop down box below. I try to do that either to the designer or to the actual pattern. So if you see something you like and would like to stitch it, you can find it as well. Sometimes if it's not available, I can't do that, but if it is, I will do that. Third project is Susanna Eccles, 1853. This is a reproduction sampler charted by Michelle, who is Mama Loves You GB here on FlossTube. She has an Etsy shop. September has been coined Sampler September by a lot of stitchers. And so you see I'm feeling all the samplers this month. This is a really tiny, nice size sampler. It's 109 by 129. Stitching this with the called for. It is mostly DMC and a couple of fancy flosses. Fancy floss is kind of the term for the cotton overdyes. It only calls for 4. I think I had them all too. Just to tell you what they are. Weak Spark, Classic Colorworks Brown Sugar. That is a really pretty color. Classic Colorworks Hickory Sticks. A lot of Little House needlework designs use hickory sticks. And then Gentle Arts Caramel Corn. And this is a really old Gentle Art, you can tell by the tag. Once again, recycled floss tags. I am stitching this on a 32 count linen that I dyed. I think I dyed it with red. I don't remember how I dyed this one. I think it was camel red. I'm gonna hold it up so you can see it. I did not iron, as one can tell. And this piece always gives me trouble. There we go. I did make a modification of this. I stitched a bunch of the border, finished that flower. Over here, where the crown is, I was stitching on this the weekend that Queen Elizabeth passed. So I put her monogram at the top. E2R while I was stitching it to kind of commemorate that world and life event. So I thought it was particularly appropriate as this is a British sampler. I believe it's a Welsh sampler, and the person who reproduced it, Michelle, is from Great Britain. So I like to do that in my samplers. I'm not a purist. I'll put up the other one, where it was before while I'm talking. I'm not a purist. I often will commemorate life or world events in the project I'm stitching by putting some initials in. Kind of a nice way for me to remember when I'm looking at it later. So there you go. There you go. This is really enjoyable to stitch. I'm loving that. My next project is another sampler. Surprise, surprise. I think everything except for one is a sampler. It is Long Dog Designs, You Belong to Me. I started this in August for when my daughter, oldest, moved away to college. The day that she moved away, it made me think of her, and I've been stitching on it when I have been thinking of her. I am stitching this on a 40 count Seraphim Fabrics in the color Bee's Knees. I just love this color. It's just such a pretty color. I am stitching it with Anchor 170 And look at that blue. Gorgeous blue. One strand of thread over 2 linen threads. I am loving how that is looking. And that is really a true representation of the colors. Just stunning. My thought was I started the center of the top and I was going to work my way to the sides because I'll put it here so I can put the other where it was in. I am playing a little bit of fabric chicken. I have enough, but it's like an inch or so. But while I was stitching on it this past week or last week, I noticed I had a hole in my fabric. I had a piece of linen thread hanging and a decent sized hole in it. I don't know how that happened. Maybe I caught it on something. They could have been like a slub that got caught, a fabric defect. I don't know. I'm going to show it to you. My friend Becky, who's amazing, it's right where that needle is, was able to fix it for me by weaving the threads in. So it's not a huge deal. Ooh, look how that turns me blue. I'm violet, turning violet. Not a huge deal, but what I'm going to do now, because of that fabric defect, I'm keeping the needle in so I know where it is. I think it's going to be like right around here in the pyramids. So most likely it's going to be stitched over, which is a good thing because it's, even though it's fixed, it's not perfect. It's definitely a weak spot in the linen. I am going to work my way down to there and stitch over it. So she fixed it for me last week and I haven't stitched on it since just because I've been working on the projects, but that's my plan for this one. So I am abandoning, it's a tough word to say, going side to side, and I am now going to work down to where you see that needle. Love it. So You Belong to Me by Long Dog Samplers. Speaking of my oldest daughter, I will put a picture in of a project that she picked out. It is a white tiger by a Russian designer that this chart is no longer available. I'll put a picture in of where it was last. This is a full coverage project, but it's a small full coverage project. I had 8 stitches done last we spoke. I am working on this on a 28 count navy even weave, and I have actually worked on it. Look at that. A lot of white. Looks really good. So I think I'm like 4% done now. I didn't check Pattern Keeper before I made the video, but I think I'm 4% done. So go me. I'm glad I didn't go any higher of a count than 28 count because stitching dark colors in the navy is a challenge. Okay, last, oh no, 2 more projects. I told you it was a lot. Not a lot of progress, but a lot of projects. Marie Cornu by Reflect de Soie. I never took French and it shows. I love the sampler. Started it with my friend Angela, who is Food and Yarn on Instagram for her birthday. And I'll put a picture in of where it was before I started. And here's where I am now. I actually did quite a bit on this. This is really enjoyable to work on. Those white letters at the top that are kind of faded into the fabric, you can see them a little bit more in person, but I do actually really like the way that they almost fade in. This is a 40 count platinum linen, and I am stitching this with the called for DMC. I believe it's actually charted in, it's charted in a silk, but they do give a DMC conversion. So I'm using the DMC. I love, love, love how these colors look. So I am almost done with the first page of this chart. This chart is 12 pages. Marie is a big sampler, and I'm going to keep it out until I finish the first page. So yeah, I just love the combination of the letters and the pictures at the bottom. Words are hard today. You can see on the chart too, like on the original sampler, like you really can't see that row of letters next to the bird. So I love how they fade in. So Marie Cornu. I can't even put this over there because I don't want everything to end up on the floor. All right, last active project I worked on. Blackbird Designs, Humming of the Bees. This was a 2022 March market release. I am stitching this with what's par for the course for me, right? A combination of called for and substituted fibers. So very close to what's called for. And I am stitching it on 40 count Seraphim fabric and the color Old Stationery. And I love Old Stationery. It is one of my favorite neutrals. I'm gonna put it up on here so you can see. And I probably won't even put a picture in of where it was before. I picked this up yesterday and I will tell you what I stitched. I stitched these two letters here. And I stitched over here a couple letters, these pink numbers, and this little border there. And you can see, like, last night I was just like, I'm ready to go to bed. I didn't even finish that. Like, I'll finish that today. So there we go. This is fun to stitch. I'm really enjoying it. Very happy the border went up. As I was stitching this, I was getting a little tired of brown. It is very brown, like the whole alphabet is brown. And I was looking at this while I was pulling out my stuff this morning. There's a lot of brown birds down at the bottom too. So I am loving stitching on it. However, I don't usually substitute or make huge adjustments in colors for Blackbird, but I think I might for this. I think any bird you see that's brown down here, I think I'm going to change the color of and make it a little bit brighter. I feel like I need a little bit more color in this piece. Not necessarily brighter, like muted, like a muted blue or muted green. So I'll go through my floss and see what I have. Will I continue working on this one? I don't know. We'll see how I feel. As you can tell by the number of projects I had, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think it is 7. I've been working on what I want to work on. Stitch what you want when you want, and really enjoying it. And it's worked for me the last couple of weeks and so far this year. So we'll see. I do want to definitely get back to You Belong to Me because I'm a little bit nervous about that fabric defect. So I'd like to work down to it. But I am really feeling the samplers right now. So I might pull out some of my other whips, current works in progress that are samplers, and work on those. So you'll find out in the next video, I guess. No plans other than to continue stitching what I want to stitch. That is the stitching. So I'm going to tell you, if you're just here for stitching, thank you so much for visiting, and I will see you next time, hopefully in another 2 weeks. If you want to hear a little bit about the shops I went to, then stick around and talk about that for a couple of minutes. If not, I'll see you next time. I went to 2 shops over the last 2 weeks. One is my local, I guess I have a really local needle workshop, and I have a not so local needle workshop. My local needle workshop is Stitch New England, which is run by Pam from Stitching in the Land of Good Enough. I typically go most Wednesdays for her stitch nights and stitch with some people there. And I often end up finding something to buy. I was there this week, and not this week. I was there last week after Needlework Expo, and she had all of her all the new charts out, and yeah, I couldn't resist a few things. So I had pre-ordered Needlework Expo a couple of charts from her. I had pre-ordered Scary Sampler from Heartstring Samplery. I mean, you knew I was going to get this, right? Because it has Halloween elements, kind of scary elements, and it's a sampler. So I love it. This is a book. Like, I haven't opened it yet just because I've been really busy. I do that afterwards. But it's 247 by 215, so it is good sized. Calls for Weeks Classic Colorworks Gentle Arts with a DMC conversion. So you know me, I'll just use what I have and substitute in some colors. So really like that. I also had pre-ordered from Heartstring Samplery Beth Twist's New Coffee Sampler. This is part 6. It says Say Coffee. All right, that one you really can't see through. I'll open it up. I think I have most of the coffee samplers. I really need to stitch them. I just love that. I love the colors. This also calls for Fancy Floss, Classic Colorworks, Gentle Arts, and Weeks Dye Works. I love it. And this isn't that big. It's 160 by 210. It says on it, if you can't remember my name, just say coffee and I'll turn around. So those were my two items I had pre-ordered from Needlework Expo. I wasn't planning on getting anything else. That's always how it seems to work with me. But I was browsing the shop as one does, and I saw 2 other charts that I had to get. I was talking about coffee. I always have a mug of coffee here. Try not to drink it on the camera, but first coffee. And yeah, that's a coffee mug. When I say I have 1 cup of coffee a day, it's as big as my head. Okay. This one I had not seen in the previews, and I love it. It's from Fairy Wool in the Wood. It says, in search of the perfect pumpkin. That's just adorable. Look at the gnomes. They have like the knives cutting up the pumpkins, and jack-o'-lantern and all the other pumpkins are like, ah. And that one comes with the Fancy Floss, a charm, a little bell, and also the 31 October is a ribbon, printed ribbon that goes across the bottom. So I got that. And then I love this. I think I'm going to change the words on it to make them so that they're American, not kind of British. 3 Wise Women by Erica Michaels. I'm not going to try to read that backwards. I'll put it up here and then I'll read it. So if you don't want to look up, you can hear what it has to say. It says, 3 wise women brought nappies, formula, and casserole, then stayed for babysitting, tea, and laundry. I love that. I'm going to change it to say 3 wise women brought diapers, formula, and casserole, then stayed for babysitting, wine, and laundry. I might keep the tea in. I don't know, but just thought that was adorable. And that is 83 by 103. So it's small. I am really trying to stitch some more smalls. Last item I picked up was the Just Cross Stitch Christmas ornament issue. I'm not going to do a flip through. Carolyn Zook did a great flip through. I'll link her video below. But there's some good ornaments in it this year. I really like this one. This Mary. So I always try to pick that up. I think I'm only missing 2 years of issues. I need to go through. I found a couple recently on the freebie table at the exchange table at the New Jersey retreat. So I might only be missing one, but I do like to pick those up. The other shop I went to was Needlecraft Corner in Baltimore, Maryland. I'll put the link to that shop in the box below. I drove down to Maryland to visit my daughter at college last weekend, and while I was there, I needed to stop at a shop. So I have ordered from Dreama, who is the owner of that shop in the past. She is lovely and great to work with. Dreama will put together kits of projects. So kind of like Country Sampler does too. If you know, oh, I love this Blackbird or this Kathy Barrick or, you know, whatever, Scarlet House, she will kit it up with fabric and floss for you and send the whole thing to you so it's ready to stitch. I have ordered from her. I have never been to her shop before, so I wanted to pop in and visit, and I was very happy I did. Had a lovely visit with her and picked up a few things. She had a few items on sale, and if you know me, I'm never one to pass up a sale. Some current items. These were from Market this year, Needlework Market, and from Leela's Studio, and I love these, but I didn't necessarily want to get both packs because I wasn't sure if I was going to stitch all 8, but she had them on sale, so I had to get them. And while I was setting up the video, I remembered I think I have a frame where I can actually do all these in a line and put them in it. I need to measure it, but I think these are adorable. And then I was so excited to see this. This is from the Traveler Stitcher. This is a Greek sampler, a reproduction. I was very happy to see that. I haven't read the history of it. It just says we don't see a lot of Greek samplers. That's right, we don't. And as somebody who is Greek, I would like to stitch more Greek samplers. So pick this one up. A package of needles, of course. And then fabric. Dreama had some great fabric. She had a bin of like some remnants. So I picked this up. Pretty sure this is a Seraphim. I counted it before I made the video. It's a 36 count and I marked it. Just in case you don't know, the way I count fabric is I put 2 needles in a 1/2 inch apart. I count the number of threads for linen or even weave. I count the number of threads between the needles, so 1/2 inch, and then I multiply times 2, and I get the count of the fabric. So between those 2 needles, there were 18 linen threads. So that means this is a 36 count fabric. And when I'm on my game, I mark my fabric, and I had put it on the tag so I know what it is, so I don't need to count it again. And like I said, I'll show you, I got 2 other pieces of fabric. Fabric isn't that exciting to look at, but this is kind of hard to see. It's really washing out. It's a nice gray mottled fabric. I had thought it was Flannel Flower by Fox and Rabbit, but it's not. It's from Rogue Stitching. I think it's called Cobblestone. 40 count. And the last thing I got was another piece of 40 count fabric from Needle and Flax called Brea. B-R-E-A. How pretty is that? Love it. And that is it. If you are ever in the Baltimore area, I recommend popping in to see Dreama at Needlecraft Corner. There was another shop in the Baltimore area called Stitching Post. I went there my last visit. I'll probably pop in there next time. And I didn't take any pictures, but next time I go, I will. And that is it. Thank you so much for visiting, and have a great stitchy weekend. And I will see everybody soon. Bye.